Episode 5 of the Fallout television series is titled The Past. The episode starts out with Squire Thaddeus and Maximus, who is still pretending to be Knight Titus, sitting by a fire barrel under an overpass. The two are talking, and soon Maximus reveals who he is. Remember, these two were pretty good friends back at the Brotherhood base. However, upon learning what has happened to Knight Titus, the two start to fight, and Thaddeus outmaneuvers Maximus and steals the fusion core from the suit of power armor. Those of us that have played Fallout 4 and 76 know that power armor is basically useless without a fusion core, and the show depicts this perfectly. The showrunners also made it much more believable by making Maximus get stuck inside the armor, because in order to get out, it must be powered or use the manual operation options to open the suit. We see this as Lucy stumbles upon Maximus shortly after. She uses her knowledge of the old power armor from her learning about it in the vault to manually operate the armor. At first, she is reluctant to let him out because she has learned that not everyone shares her values, a lesson that the ghoul has taught her. The scene then cuts back to the vault, where we see Chet and Norm leaving the vault that they snuck into to learn that the residents of Vault 32 knew something about Vault 31, as they were found dead at the Vault 31 door. Apparently, they were trying to break into that vault. As the scene cuts back to Maximus and Lucy, we get our first look at how a Radaway treatment is done. The two talk and decide to team up in order to help each other with their respective goals. We then cut back to the vault where the residents have gathered to vote on who will be the new overseer. This time there are 3 choices: Betty, Reg, and Woody, all of whom have been trying to run the vault after the raiders attacked. As we know from many of the Fallout games, there were numerous vaults where the overseer was chosen by voting. In this vault, however, the vote is an illusion, as the residents have been conditioned to only vote for an overseer that came from Vault 31. We will learn more about this and the reason why in a later episode. The show cuts back to Lucy and Maximus, who are now talking about some personal things. Lucy opens up to Maximus as she talks about her childhood, and the look on Maximus's face, it's like he's kind of falling for her. Lucy is of course completely oblivious to this and just continues asking questions. We then cut back to the vault where Norm is using his hacking skill to learn about all of the overseers for Vault 33. We find out that each and every one of them came from Vault 31. He then congratulates Betty on winning the election, but does so in a way that makes her wonder what he's up to. The show then cuts back to Lucy and Maximus, where they are at a bridge, and on the other side of the bridge we get our first look at a pair of fiends. You will recall that the fiends were a raider faction in New Vegas, who were drug addicts and cannibals. This is where, once again, Lucy's naivete gets her into trouble. Maximus notices them for who they are, but Lucy decides to take matters into her own hands and comes up with a bad idea to walk across the bridge with their hands up. This ends up with the fiends shooting Maximus, though he was able to kill the pair quickly. Once again, Lucy learns another lesson the hard way, but this time it is Maximus who suffers the consequences. Lucy has good intentions, but she is completely misguided in its application. Meanwhile, back in Vault 33, Norm continues his investigation only to find that Chet doesn't want to have any part of it. Lucy and Maximus end up at the Shady Sands crater, where she sees a billboard that showed the population to be just over 34,000. This scene shows Lucy break just a little because, as far as she was concerned, it was her vault that was going to restart civilization. Now she is left wondering what else she has been told and taught to believe as being a lie. Maximus tries to make her feel better, but that doesn't work. With each passing episode, Lucy is changing because she is learning that the world is very different from what she has been told. At this point, we find out that the shot Maximus took is more serious than he let on, and Lucy is now determined to help him. They come across a medical facility called Hawthorne Medical Laboratories. It's here where Lucy thinks she can help Maximus. Maximus is leery of going inside, but Lucy just goes in without a care in the world. We see in an overhead shot that shows a Vault-Tec logo is painted on the ground. This indicates that there's another vault nearby. Inside, there is a long light strip that is flashing in such a way as to lead them to a door. Lucy is not in sight as Maximus entered the building, but he followed the light path and ended up trapped and gassed. As we cut back to the vault, Betty announces that the residents of Vault 33 are going to be split up between Vault 33 and Vault 32. The entire vault visits 32, and much to Norm's shock, the entire place has been cleaned up, a point he makes sure to say to Betty. He simply says to her, "Great job cleaning up the place." The final scene shows Lucy waking up on a stretcher inside a vault, with Maximus also on a stretcher next to her. Maximus awakens with many questions, but Lucy, still naive, thinks she's in a safe place. This brings us to the end of the episode. Let me know what you think of the series so far in the comments below. While you're at it, like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I'm just glad you stopped by, and I'll see you in the next one.